It's no secret that 2025 has been a pretty bad year for movies, and out of all the different movies that were scheduled to come out this year, The Running Man was one of those that I was kind of looking forward to, because based on all the information that I had about it, it looked rather promising. On the one hand, you had solid actors like Glen Powell and Josh Brolin attached to it. On the other hand, you had an experienced director like Edgar Wright, which was also a good sign, and with this kind of team, it seemed logical that the movie, if nothing else, would be pretty good. And when I saw the trailers for it, it didn't look like it would be terrible or anything, so for a change, I actually walked into the movie theater with some real expectations, which doesn't happen very much these days. And I really wanted this movie to be good, and unfortunately, it wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped, and that's putting it mildly. People sometimes make light of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies or acting, but he appeared in the original version of The Running Man from 1987, and as much as that movie has always seemed rather silly and ridiculous to me, I will say that I think that the original Running Man was, in fact, better than this new one, in many ways. Now, in this video, I'm going to be going over the plot of the new Running Man. I'll talk about things that didn't work for me, some things that did work for me. I'm also going to try to compare some of what it does to the original movie with Schwarzenegger, and obviously at the end of it I'm going to give it my official score. And if you're interested in getting more honest reviews like the ones I do here on this channel, and you haven't yet subscribed, please take a second to do that now, as it would really help me out.
Do it.
The Running Man takes place somewhere in the near future where there's some kind of police state and apparently some kind of corporate media network controls everything. And one of the ways the corporate media company controls everybody is pacifying them with these stupid reality shows with a specific focus on violent game shows, which are extremely popular. Now, our main protagonist is Ben Richards, a factory worker of sorts that keeps getting fired from places because of his behavior. Ben is married to a woman that I guess works at a gentleman's club, but only does platonic things there or something, and together they have a sick baby, and as he gets desperate to pay for her health care, he decides that he wants to participate in one of those violent reality TV shows to make some extra money so that he and his wife can pay their bills. Somehow, though, he becomes a candidate to be on a show called The Running Man, which is actually the most dangerous show that most people that compete in it don't come back alive. And the reason he even agrees is because the show's slippery producer, Dan Killian, gives him a cash advance that'll go to his family as sort of a signing bonus to agree to be there, because this producer thinks that he would generate good ratings for him. Now, here's where things get a little convoluted. First of all, Ben is joined by two candidates. One is kind of a nerd of sorts, and the other one is a muscle man woman lady who's fond of other ladies. Now, I don't generally have an issue with the actress or with such a character, but the show is called The Running Man, and I can't help but feel that putting this actress and this character in this situation was more of a executive decision of a committee than an actual creative one. And to be quite honest, I also felt the same way about Ben Richards' wife in this movie. Now, there is nothing wrong with having a diverse actress as his spouse, and even in the original movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, his love interest is actually a Cuban actress, who I thought was great in the movie. But what I will say is that this casting of this specific actress also felt more like a boardroom executive decision and less of a creative one, because I didn't feel that they really had good chemistry. Back in the day in Hollywood, if you were going to put a man and a woman on screen, there would actually be on-screen chemistry tests to see if they work well together. In this case, and I say this with no offense to anybody, I simply don't believe these two are a couple. And if you don't buy the romance, if you don't buy this family, then that's already an issue for me. But regardless, if we're being honest, the original movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, with all of its flaws and how silly it was, it got to the point in a much more simple way. It didn't bring any wife or baby or anything like that. In the original movie, Ben Richards was actually a law enforcement agent, and after he didn't want to kill civilians, he was sort of framed, put in jail, and eventually ended up on The Running Man, with two people that he escaped prison with, which were his friends. This made a whole lot more sense, because you had camaraderie, you had a guy, he understood the corruption, he understood the hypocrisy, and by the end of the movie, he was really active in leading a revolution. It mattered to him. Not to mention that throughout the movie, a woman that initially didn't believe in him changes her opinion about him. The more she sees him grow as a character, by the end of the movie, she already becomes his love interest and they're together. It's a much better payoff. So yeah, yes, this new movie, it had all the different technology that you want. It had the cinematography, it had the style, it had tools that didn't exist at the time when they made the original movie. But you know what? The key beats that this new movie needed to hit, it doesn't really do it. Because in this movie, as opposed to the original, Ben Richards is running around outside, out in the open, and any citizen that sees him can get rid of him for a reward. Something that didn't exist in the original, because it only makes things more complicated. Also, with no camaraderie, the other two people that are competing with Ben, whatever happens to them, their fate, really doesn't matter to anybody. We're not invested in them. They're not really his friends. Nobody cares about them. So that's a wash. And in addition, there's something about this movie that feels very clinical. The character goes from A to B to C to D and all of that, but it never stops to breathe. It never really stops to show what he's feeling, how he's growing as a character. And at the end, there's things that happen here that don't make any sense, like people conveniently helping him and then doing stupid things. Also, the ending of this movie feels like it was either poorly planned, poorly shot, or reshot, because something about it feels very abrupt and strange. And considering that the whole movie itself is rather lackluster, this ending actually lowers the viewer experience even more. After watching this new movie, I watched the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm going to tell you this. He may not have been the greatest actor. That movie may not have been the greatest movie, but every time you see him on screen, you know that between takes, he was in his trailer, lifting weights, smoking cigars, and partying with the ladies. And that's the vibe he gives you with every silly one-liner that he says. And you know what? There's something fun about it. You could tell that he's there to have fun, and sometimes when there's a stupid movie with a ridiculous premise, and as dumb as it is, you see a guy with muscles come out, beat everybody up, seem larger than life, full of bravado. That movie was much better. It's unfortunate that this kind of playful fun was missing from this one. It's as if this new movie wanted to try to be kind of like the old movie, but more serious and more politically correct, and it doesn't help it in any way. Now, if I had to give my thoughts here, and say if this is the worst movie I've seen this year, it's not the worst movie. Glen Powell is a good actor. Josh Brolin is a good actor. Edgar Wright, you could tell he has style. He's not a bum when it comes to directing. But at the same time, this is not going to be the top project on any of these people's resume. And as I was sitting watching it in the theater, I thought to myself, I've seen a lot of bad movies this year. This one stopped short of being the biggest disaster, but it wasn't a good movie. So I had a real dilemma when I had to give it a score. People that know my channel know that anything that's below a 60, it means that it's a failing grade. Anything above 60 is a passing grade. And if I had to give The Running Man 2025 a grade, I suppose I would give it a 63 out of 100. It's not a good movie. You could see it on streaming. I don't highly recommend it. It barely gets a passing grade, but perhaps because some of the scenes looked nice, and it had some action in it, and you had an actor who was competent. It was, if nothing else, mildly watchable, but sadly in this case, a real missed opportunity. And if you want to continue to get these type of honest reviews from an independent reviewer like myself, please make sure to like and subscribe, as it would really help my channel. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. Brum.